The best soy-free tofu can really stand in for regular tofu, nutritionally as well as in cooking. And that tofu is made of, well, it depends on what kind of tofu you're trying to sub. Hello friends and not yet friends, welcome back to Mary's Test Kitchen, where I've tested many a legume, seed, and nut. Out of curiosity, both mine and yours. Feel free to use the video chapters to jump around, but if you're new here or just want a refresher, here's how it all went down. Starting with the dry version of our non-traditional ingredients, I would drown them, usually overnight in cold water, then drain and then pulverize before straining out the pulp to make plant-based milk. Some were easier to strain than others. Some became a slimy mess and did not pass go, but most candidates pulled through. The pulp could be cooked and used to make fritters, dried and turned into flour to make low-carb bread, or boiled to make some sort of low-carb congee alternative. Almost all the milks contain more starch than soy milk, so I added the step of letting them just sit quietly. During this time, the starch would settle to the bottom. Then we could gently skim off the milk, leaving the starch behind. Not because it's not useful, but during tofu making, it's a coagulation saboteur. You could use that saved starch just like cornstarch to thicken sauces, or be adventurous and make your own starch noodles. The protein-rich milk gets cooked thoroughly. Some required a coagulant to separate into curds and whey like soy does. Some refused to cooperate, but others had a naturally independent spirit and coagulated all by themselves. Big or small, the curds were pressed in my trusty tofu presses, two of the same model because I love it so much, all with the same settings to keep the comparisons fair. And the best soy-free tofu to substitute firm or extra firm tofu turned out to be chickpea. While YouTube is flooded with chickpea tofu tutorials, this chickpea tofu is not like the others. Those are made with chickpea flour or whole chickpeas, blended with water and then cooked into a custardy or polenta-like block that is high in carbs and relatively low in protein. Is it delicious? Yes. A good substitute for tofu? I don't think so, not to my standards. Chickpeas are high in starch, similar to the beans that didn't work out, but the starch separated easily. And when the time came, chickpea milk separated into curds and whey all by itself. After pressing, the tofu came out bouncy, firm like traditional soy tofu, but it had an even better flavor. Mild, savory, with that slightly chickeny flavor that chickpeas naturally possess. In second place, we have the fava bean. Fava beans make a fantastic firm soy-free tofu. They're not as easily available though, thank you online shopping, but worth the hunt. The flavor is earthier and more vegetal compared to chickpeas. You might even prefer it. Third place is a tie between green and yellow split peas. Their curds tend to be smaller, making the tofu more delicate. When you air fry it or pan fry it, the texture is grainier, but it holds its own in a rapid boil. Plus, cooking in liquid plumps it up for a smoother texture, which I personally prefer. Honorable mention goes to split pigeon pea tofu, which is pretty nice, but with a slight bitter aftertaste. We generally associate bitter with bad, but think about how bitter greens like kale and mustard actually become super delicious with the right recipe. In my mind, it really lost points because those tiny split pigeon peas are more finicky to work with. But hey, we all have our quirks. Content warning, I'm about to flash the estimated nutrition values for our soy-free extra firm tofu front runners on screen, so look away if you don't want to see. In 3, 2, 1. Please keep in mind that these are the guesstimates based on the nutrition of the whole food ingredient, less the dietary fiber, less 95% of the starch, less 95% of the sugar, and assuming all the protein and fat is retained in the tofu. Calories are therefore calculated on the estimated macros for an 85-gram serving, which seems like the prevailing retail standard for tofu. It's the best I can do since professional lab analysis is currently out of my budget. Please like and subscribe, and maybe I'll be able to afford that one day. Okay, everyone who looked away can look back now. Now if you're looking for a softer silken tofu substitute, any of these tofus could do it with less pressing. However, I think red lentil tofu is your natural winner. This beautiful blush-colored tofu is delicate, soft, and has a mild, savory lentil flavor. perfect for any recipe calling for soft or silken tofu. And now for my own special made-up category, high-fat soy-free tofu, because even the highest-fat soy tofu cannot compare to these seed-based creations. They're more like tofu's delicious cousin, cheese. My personal favorite? Pumpkin seed tofu. It's like the ribeye steak of tofu, high-fat, high-protein, and incredibly filling. The flavor of the pumpkin seeds get more aromatic when you sear or fry it, and the texture is firm and creamy at the same time. Plus, when you freeze and thaw it, some of the oil separates, making the protein chewier and meatier. It makes the most incredible vegan bacon. Second place goes to hemp hearts, aka hulled hemp seeds. Hemp fu, as I like to call it, is high in protein, healthy fat like those omega-3s, and tastes great too. It's moderately firm with a slight bounce, chewy in a kind of meaty way, but creamy at the same time. You just have to taste it to understand. However, make sure you choose the delicious nutty hemp hearts that no longer have that bitter hull. Otherwise, your hemp fu will become hemp-threwed away. Lastly, sunflower seeds make a creamier tofu that's firm enough to cube up and fry, but soft enough to spread. It's the ideal ingredient for cheese spreads. Plus, sunflower seeds are so affordable compared to pumpkin seeds and hemp seeds, so bonus points. Again, content warning, nutrition values are going to get flashed on the screen in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Also again, please keep in mind that these are just my educated guesses based on publicly available nutrition data and some assumptions about what gets removed during the tofu making process and what remains. Okay? Anyways, thank you so much for watching, my friends. Please give this video a thumbs up if you liked it and comment on which is your favorite tofu so far. Bye for now.